like our poll. We'll see who shows up.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right. Let's see if we're actually going live here. We are. I'm going to click the button, and then we'll officially start. All right. We are live. Welcome back to Judging Bouncing Balls. Toby, how you doing, man?
I feel great. Doing real good. It's been geez, they give us a couple of vacation days on this podcast. We just abuse them.
We are abusing them, and I'm dropping something on you too. I don't think I'm going to be available next week either. So it's the summer. What are we going to do?
Right. Well, there's not a lot of sports in the summer, right? I mean,
yeah, it's kind of the time for our hiatus. I think it's where we go and work on our tans and we get beautiful looking, right?
100%, 100%. I mean, I've traveled all over this great world the last 3 weeks by jet, by boat. No, actually, just by car.
Well, might I say that, Toby, you look amazing. You look great.
Well, I appreciate that. You're the first person that said that to me in 49 years.
Oh, I find that hard to believe.
Well, you look relaxed. I mean, it's the summer of Jeremy over there. I mean, teachers, months off.
Funny you mentioned that episode the other day, the Summer of George. It's so true. Yeah, I will say I didn't read a book from front to back in that order.
Right.
Not yet, at least. It's coming.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, it's been good. You know, we still threw in. You know, we talked about St. Louis, and really, there hasn't been much on our front for sports. Just Macy's been training, or my other daughter's starting tennis. Fires up here, but technically summer's over here next Tuesday, right? I mean, we start soccer.
Dude, it's pretty much. Well, there's one soccer thing, and I forgot to tell you about this pre-show that I do want to talk about, and it's the greatest branding ever of, we've talked about this with the ODP. So get this. So Amelia went down to the ID camp, right? Down in Rockford, our favorite city in Illinois. Went down to Rockford, and I didn't go with. I sent her with the grandparents. The grandparents took her. They were kind enough to, take her down there and do the whole spiel with her because we had some other stuff going on here. But she got back and she told me, she's like, hey, how'd it go? She, felt like it was pretty successful. She had done better in that ID camp than she had done in the 2 years ago. So she was feeling good about it, but she started to tell me a little bit about some of the way that it unraveled down there. And when I say unraveled, just like the way that everything happened. The first got in, or maybe it was like right after their first game, they basically said, well, just so you guys know, we're only looking for 2 or 3 spots. We already know who made the team. So, which is whatever. Like we're going to take people from last year and we're going to bring them in. So I'm going to put ODP on blast a little bit because it's like, if you know already that you're going to bring back, 20, 30 people, however many it is for this regional team that they're doing, why are they making it seem like this is an open tryout and then they bring in 50 people, 60 people in this age group, 70? No, there was 4 teams. So that means there was probably 80 people in that age group that they invited into camps when they knew dang well that they were only looking for 3 people, because they basically said, we're looking for 3 spots. Okay. So
that's crazy.
that puts a really big emphasis on being able to be on, if you were on the team prior, like that basically means you're almost guaranteed into the team again. So that's one aspect. But then the other, it's like, man, they are jerking the chain of a lot of people. And, and I would love to say that they have their best intentions at heart, but it just feels like a giant money grab, as we already have talked about. Like, you already that you have 3 spots and you open it up to 80 some people, because they had teams of 4 teams of 22. And then Amelia's like, yeah, well, we played the girls from last year, the team, basically, because they all put them onto one team and had them play against the other 3 teams. They're like, we did pretty well against them. Like, they only won 1 game. And it's like, okay, so you're basically saying we're going to bring back the same team that doesn't really have much success against everyone else? Like, that doesn't make any sense. You might want to mix that team up a little bit. And is Amelia going to make it? I don't really know, and I don't really care if she does or doesn't, but it's just the principle of, like, if you already know who you're taking, why are you opening it up to 80 people?
Yeah, and the 2 years that we were down there, it was by Saturday afternoon. You knew you were not going anywhere. I mean, they
Oh,
were
for sure.
like, why don't you go over there and sit on those bleachers? And then you look around, you're like, these are all the losers, and I'm a loser, right? And the parents are
Dang
like,
it.
they're like, what do you think that bleachers means? I'm like, that means we're losers, right? I mean, like, it. Yeah, I'm with
It's
you.
totally true.
I think the middle round, like we've talked about, you play for your state, you play games against Nebraska, and that's the round. Everything else, I mean,
Yep.
and then you get, what do you get if you make it to Florida? I mean, what's the true? They choose the next. I think I listened once
I'll tell you what
that
you get if you get to Florida. A credit card bill. That's what you get. You get an invoice.
but you can make the international team or the world team or the all degenerate team or the yeah. I'm with you. I mean, it's. I don't know. Is it a big deal on your like if you want to play college soccer? I heard 2 years of ODP making the ID camp is a big deal. If you make Florida, it's a great big deal. But is it really a big? I don't know. I don't
I don't
know.
know. See, again, I'm not trying to crap on ODP, but it just doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't sit really well with me. And again, I'm not saying she deserves to move on or not. It's just it doesn't seem like it was really an open tryout. It's like if they kind of already know, it's like okay, well, why don't you? If you already kind of know, then that means you know the players well enough that you should know who you want to invite because you're like, yeah, those are going to be probably our girls. Like, do you really need to bring in this ID camp when it's not really an open tryout? But anyways, I'm
Right.
not trying.
No,
Yeah,
we're crapping on them. It's okay. It's
yeah, I
fine.
am a little bit, but listen, I almost sent something to him just because I was a little perturbed at the time, and I do this all the time with so many like situations in life. I have it all written out of what I want to say, and then I'm just like, just delete.
Just
I'm not gonna move on to this. Like,
middle finger emoji.
and I'm like, but anyways, so that was my one thing I was going to talk to you about because I don't know, it just kind of it rubbed me the wrong way, and it's something we've already talked about with ODP, and I see value in ODP. I think there's good things with ODP, but man, you're dead on when you said it's the best marketing ever because that is the greatest branding they could have ever come up with to get people
Right.
to you're selling dreams. That's all you're doing.
Well,
You're
you are,
selling
and
dreams.
what sucks is I truly believe it could be a really good thing if
Yeah.
they got their act together and did, if they used Oshkosh indoor facility, turf is amazing. Marquette
Yeah.
has one in Milwaukee. Is there one in the middle of the state or down there? Because it's a winter travel practice. If you could
Yep.
find three places of indoor soccer and then get coach, like I would rather have you raise the fee and pay coaches a decent wage to teach instead of paying them whatever they're getting paid to stand there and instruct, do something like you might as well pay me and you, right? Because they're doing
Yep.
less. At least we'll probably be like, wow, that kid's really good. Write down on our little piece of paper. I don't even think they do that. Like that's what the disturbing thing was.
Yeah, I don't know because I'm not sure. Because I'm with you. It doesn't seem like a lot is done, and there's times where, I'll give an example just from Amelia. The first year that we were in ODP, she missed like half the ODP practices. Like we didn't even go, and she made it down to wherever, and I'm like, the ID camp. That's what she made it to the ID, and I'm like, we weren't even there. Like, how did she make it to the ID camp? Like but maybe, and I just joked with Sarah the other day. I'm like, maybe they just know that we're willing to pay, and they're like, put her in. They'll
They
pay.
see they see guys like us coming from a million miles away. Like, look at these two suckers.
Yeah,
But no,
and
but
I
you
kind of
don't
went,
remember you don't pay full price because there's the Edmund Fitzgerald Scholarship Fund over here that picks up half your tab, and I think that's BS too. That's like,
oh, I
hey,
forgot about that. I should
this
apply for
yeah,
that.
they're like this is $300, but it would be $600 if it wasn't for the scholarship. Well, it's $300. Don't sell me, don't
Right.
crap in my shoes and tell me it's cushions. Uh,
Yep.
but I don't know. Are you going to do it again?
And then I was just gonna say, and then to top it all off, they sent out the, "Hey, we got the tryouts. We're signed up." It's like,
You don't have to try out. If you
I thought we
make
did.
it, no, if you make the ID camp, you don't have to try out.
Son of a bitch. Sorry, oops. I already paid.
Yeah,
Dang it.
no, text them back. And Paul's exactly right. It is like Kohl's Cash. Every time you go into Kohl's, they give you another $10, and then you come back, and then you come back. I got 10. I'm sure I got $10 in my Kohl's Cash right now.
Yeah.
But you do,
Kohl's drives me nuts too.
yeah. And if Paul would answer this, or Jamie, I saw Jamie Owens. I'm 99.9% sure you do not need to try out.
No, you're correct. I forgot about that. I think if you get to ID camp, you don't have to.
Right.
I think
That's the way I read it. And well, with your ice cream money, it just doesn't matter, right? Just
it's right. Just make. But anyways, so that was my beef. I had to get that off my shoulder, my chest, because that really bothered me. Like, why would you? And even if it's true that you only need 3 people, why would you do it right away at the beginning? Like, hey, guess what, girls? We're only going to pick 3 of you. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to make it more competitive. Like, hey, you really got to fight for these last 3 spots, or maybe that's the mentality. But just it kind of just, when you already say, hey, we already picked 90% of the team, you kind of let everybody know that the rig is on. So it's like, what are we doing
right.
here? You already knew probably who you wanted to pick anyway.
Well, it's like what if they had 3 positions? One was goalie, backup goalie, and then like a bench player. Like those
Right.
are the 3 where it's like, what do we? Well, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Thanks,
It just doesn't
Rockford.
feel like it's an open competition, I guess, is my
No.
point. So, anyways, rant over.
And I'll be honest, we did not do it this year for anything that does. It became too many Sundays of traveling around the state, and the grind I think Mace was burnt out after the season.
Good for you for not doing it. I wish I could convince Amelia not to.
Take the money you were going to spend, give her half, and tell her, hey, look, here's the deal.
Well, we figured it out. It's almost $1,000 by the time you do when you do just ODP in general, and then you do the whole thing to Indiana, and then if you do the ID camp, it ends up being, and that's just fees. That's not even hotels, anything. Or travel. That's just fees. And I'm like, that's a pretty good deal for them. A few practices, or I think was it like 7 or 8 practices. And then they have to take them down to Indianapolis or whatever. I don't know. It's crazy, but.
Well, you think about it. Starts with absolutely. Here you go. Yeah.
What were you gonna say? Sorry.
Remember, it starts with like 16 to 20 kids on each team.
Yeah.
At each age group, remember back in the day there were 2 age groups, but even now one team per Wisconsin, and there's probably 8 or 9 states in the Midwest that participate. I think to get the Dakotas involved. So, that's 100 kids. That's $100,000.
Yeah. Well, and there's still 2 in our age group. There's a younger and an older.
So we're in the wrong business.
We are in the wrong business. We should be exploiting sports teams. I almost said kids, but I changed it to sports teams.
Smart.
That would have been
we
bad.
Could do we should just call it a tryout for a new professional league. It's $2,000. You show up in Stevens Point. We'll rent the field from Spash, and we'll have a 4-day camp, and they'll stay in the dorms, and we'll charge extra, and we won't feed them. We like to have fry party or whatever that.
You know what's crazy? What's actually in Stevens Point right now? It's Camp Shutout. We've got 36 different states represented, 4 different countries, and it's a goalie camp all week. And it's the biggest goalie camp in the world, I think they said. It's crazy.
Soccer?
Yeah, soccer. And they stay they like rent out the entire hotel, and all the kids are stay there. They walk over to the club fields. Club doesn't have anything for a week. It's a big deal. I'm telling you, but you gotta start small. They said when they started, they only had 3 people, and now they're up to 400 and whatever on a 250 waiting list.
Yeah, but could you imagine like the forwards are going to South Beach and the goalies are going to Stevens Point?
That's probably true.
And why are, like Paul said, why are we recruiting? Like, why isn't Eric Gephardt, our executive director, over there like passing out business cards? We struggle at goalie.
Every club, I swear, every club does. I don't know any club that's like, hey, we got lots of goalies. I don't know where they're all going, but we need to start recruiting for them. That's for sure. I agree with you.
You know, I was talking to Rookie from the fan. He said that in hockey they like cut their fees for the goalie.
Oh, really? It's not a bad idea.
Problem is, then everybody's goalie is like, well, can I get a little ice time out in the forward or the defense? And they're like, no, you took the pay cut.
Maybe that's what we need to start doing. Just paying goalies.
Your fees will go up if we have to give away goalie money.
Dang it. You're probably right. Dang it. Anyways, but yeah, man, there's so many goalies here. I got to see, we actually took the ice cream truck over and we were, as they're waiting in line, literally the line was like 500 yards long. And we're just sitting right there at the end of the line. Like, hey, you're baking in the sun. You could be having some ice cream. It's a good deal.
Ice cream nachos.
Hey, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. It was good.
Now, when you take your shirt off, is your right arm like really massive Popeye, and then your left arm just this skinny little spaghetti?
I think it's going to end up being that way. This arm is going to be way stronger than the other arm. That's for sure.
You're gonna get in a fight, and you're gonna punch him, and then you're gonna hit him with the left, and it's gonna be way different.
Pretty much, yeah. I know. I actually thought about that the other day. I was like, that's probably what's going to happen. It's going to just be crazy. My one arm's going to be way bigger. And then people are going to start to say that it's from other things. That's going to be a big problem.
I don't know what you're talking about. Please explain.
I don't think I will.
Yeah. Hey, I saw something today. Speaking of no, not speaking of anything. Did you see? And I'm gonna preference this like I can't stand the University of Michigan. The whole thing.
Fair enough.
Unless my kid went there. But did you see what the NCAA came down on Jim Harbaugh today? Or they're thinking a 4-game suspension?
4 games? Yeah.
Do you know one of those infractions? Well, he lied. Okay, he lied. But he lied about one of the infractions was he bought hamburgers for some of the recruits. He didn't buy crystal meth for these kids. He bought a hamburger. And this is what bothers me about these oversight committees. Right. I thought they should do the death penalty and lose football altogether.
Huh. I had not heard that. That sounds pretty egregious. They should probably boot him out of the league.
Yeah. Now, he did lie about it. I don't know what he lied, but that's what they're mad at. But
well, to be fair, presidents lie all the time, and we don't kick them out. So all the time.
True.
I'm not saying this one. I'm just saying all of them. They all lie to us.
And you know how they tell they're lying? The lips are moving.
That is true. But anyways,
so I just had to throw that in
crazy,
there.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. 4 games for.
Well, who are they going to play their first 4 game? Appalachian State. They're going to probably play UW Whitewater. I mean, I always love it. Like, this guy's suspended for 2 games. He's on the sidelines, like, eating a hot dog and like his gold chains, and I'm like, really?
I always wonder about that too. Like, how do they know he's not mic'd in like with an earbud, right? And he's like feeding him plays. Hey, run this on him. Like, how do they know? They could easily, in today's day and age, just mic in somewhere and still coach the team. No one would ever know.
Well, you think about, it's funny. I always laugh at that when they throw the head coach of the baseball team out, and he goes down in the tunnel, and he's just yelling, "Put in Robach," It's like, it's like not that hard.
Yeah. That's like what we would do from the, when we get thrown out of a game, we coach from the side, the parking lot. We'd totally do that.
I would. They need me to yell shoot. I mean, how would they know to shoot it without me yelling shoot?
That's true. Speaking of that, that is a real pandemic, actually, or not pandemic. It's a real problem in in soccer. You guys, I know you do it as a joke, and you and Joe do it as a joke. But we had a couple makeup games with my son, who's 8 years old, and man, there's a lot of people yelling instructions to the kids on the field, and shoot is one of them. And half the time, they're yelling into things like the kid doesn't even have control of the ball, and they're telling him to shoot the ball. It just seems like it's a little bit over the top and a little confusing. I know we've touched on this already, but it's kind of a problem. It really is.
Do you think, and I agree with you, and I do yell shoot but it's not like anywhere near the goal. Like I make egregious statements from half field. But
It's true.
I noticed this when I was listening to our broadcast the other day, just because I was sitting there, and when the ball's on our side, right in front of us, and like there's a player coming, like if our player has, like Amelia has the ball, right? And there's a defender that's coming, it would always like, hey, no time, or you got time, or is that coaching, or is that just letting them know? Because I say it all the time.
You're not telling them to do anything. You're just letting them know that you're trying to help them out. I think that's a little different than coaching. Coaching is more where you're like, hey, pass it to, Lexi or, whatever. She's in the middle, pass it to Katie. She's right there. Like, that's a little different. Whereas if you're like, hey, you got somebody coming on, do whatever you want with it. That's a little different, I would say. I could be wrong. Okay. Mr. Rhodes.
Well,
Mr. Rhodes could put us on notice.
Yeah, if Dusty or Eric or Sean or anybody's listening, let us know if we should not. I mean, that's just curious. I don't know what I'm looking at. Courtesy. We gave the girls water. I mean, remember on the sideline, we were.
True.
And the only reason I gave water or wanted to give water because the other team gave water, and I am like, that's crap. We're going to give twice as much water.
It's a high quality H2O. That was us. We became the water boy.
I want everybody to know if they're listening, I did not give them my water because it was hot and I needed my water.
Yeah. No, that was I think we're okay there. I think if you're giving helpful tips about like positioning on the field, that's one thing. And when I say it that way, that doesn't sound as good. But yeah, if you just let them know that somebody's on them, that that's fine. Especially when they can't see. Letting them know something they can't see, I think that's probably okay. As long as it's not too egregious or too much. But I'm telling you, these little kids, man, they get yelled at by the parents. Shoot, pass, do this stuff. It's just bizarre.
Well, the problem is, who are they going to listen to? They're going to listen to their parents, right?
Well, I know. And my sons, there's a couple dads that are like over the top. Like they're just constantly everything about their kid, and they're trying to get them to do this and do that. It's like, man, just sit and listen. Like, just watch the game. You're going to enjoy yourself a lot more. Don't be so stressed out if they score, if they don't score, if they win or they lose. They're 8 years old. Like, just enjoy the moment. I really am trying to find my own enjoyment in just enjoying watching kids play, whether they win or lose, especially at that age. It's a little more stressful when they get older, as we both know with our older kids, but I'm just telling you, when it's young, I think people just need to chill out a little bit and enjoy them. Just enjoy watching them run around. So
yeah, and I know we've talked about like what is the good age that you can only coach till. I know we mentioned our club, you can coach till like they're 12. But damn, you see parents that are just, we talked a little bit before, they just hang on, and it's like, what are you doing? And then they go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's not the Amherst dads, Paul. Amherst dads are great, top-notch people.
Top notch, but you get. And I think if Adam's still listening, Adam Lemron, he's on. He joins. He is taking over the varsity girls Bayport basketball coach. Actually, I'll reach out to Adam one of these weeks. We'll have him on. And his daughters are excellent basketball players, and they're coming up. But he played basketball himself. He played at St. Norbert. And so I think he's a perfect fit for the job. But man, that's a tough road, right? I mean, anything unless like our volleyball coach here at Bayport, I think he's fantastic. He came out of East Troy. He was coach of the year nationally.
Hmm.
Won state titles. Like he runs a program that is to the T. And his team last year carried a 3.95 grade point average. So, um, but I think he
Wow.
can get away with it, right? He's got the background of the national coach of the year, and like he can tell people where he can cut players. He can do whatever he wants. But you get a new coach that people I think can try to run over. And no, I don't think that'll be Adam by any means. I think he's got a voice for himself, but you almost need to start somewhere to build up a little background and then transfer in because it's hard to just walk into a team and be like, I'm the new coach.
Yeah. There's
Because
a
that
lot
same
of
dad yeah,
yeah, a lot of competing interests for sure.
well, exactly. And then you got three kids on the team that are going to go play college ball, and you got five kids on the team who parents think they should be playing college ball, and the phone calls have to be terrible.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen with some of these lower, I say this in like lower level coaching jobs. I know they're all important and they're all very difficult, but lower prestige, I guess, coaching jobs because man, it just seems like it's getting tougher and tougher. But that's the route you got to go if you want to get up to the other more prestigious jobs. So you got to do it. You got to prove yourself. But man, yeah, it's got to be pretty tough.
Well, especially at the University of Bayport here. I mean, it's not we take athletics seriously, and they want to win.
Hmm.
You
Yep.
probably go to Amherst and take a couple losing seasons, you'll be all right. Not in baseball. Not in baseball.
Poor
Hey,
Bill.
where's
Poor Bill. Bill's
poor
probably listening to
Bill?
this and like, what in the heck has happened? Maybe he probably stopped after we started ragging on Andy Amherst.
Where's Tomorrow River School?
So that's part of Amherst.
Okay, we're doing a big project there.
Really?
We'll be
Oh, that's
spending
because they're
some
doing that
time.
addition.
Yeah, we got all of it for my business. So I'm gonna have to go out there and maybe give them a call, maybe during baseball season.
You better be
Pickleball. Remember we?
careful.
Ooh, yeah, good point. Yeah, I'll blame you.
He's speaking of pickleball. Guess who played finally?
How'd
It was
you do?
terrible. It's not good. No, I really enjoyed it though. I will say it. In large table tennis, it was a lot of fun. So from that perspective, it was good. I played with my youngest son, and then I played with some people who knew what they were doing, and then I played with my wife, who was also her first time. We enjoyed ourselves. It was good. Basically, where we came out of it though was Sarah and I said, you know what we should do? We should put pickleball courts in our barn because we have a space in our barn that's like it's open and we should just not tell anyone, get like really really good, and then just come out and dominate.
Absolutely. I bought a
Just total because now they saw us play and they're like, oh, they're not very good, and then we
right.
could just come out and just crush,
Right. What do you
take
say we
people's
play
money.
for a couple of bucks, right? Maybe 20? Do you want to play for 20?
Then just lay down the hammer. Yeah.
Well, I bought a pickleball net and some paddles for like $30 because Macy wanted it for soccer tennis, whatever they call that. But
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
came with two paddles. I mean, I think I'm up to six paddles all of a sudden. I have no idea how.
Wow,
Amazon.
that's pretty good. There's some clever things I saw. Like one of our friends has a paddle that says it's the big dill instead of the big deal, the big dill, and he's got a shirt and everything says the big dill. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like, there's some cool things about pickleball that I enjoyed.
Yeah. Not running until I can run running in tennis. That's why I love pickleball.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. It's not like overly strenuous, so that's good. But I was
All
not
right.
very good. I struggled.
Paul says he'll throw up $50 if me and Jackie play you and Sarah.
You guys would kill us. That's
Jack,
probably the truth. I don't know how Jackie is.
very competitive and pretty good.
Ooh, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
you guys would probably take us because we haven't played since we played that one that one day, and that was like 2 weeks ago. So, but anyways, I thought you'd find that amusing. But
Yeah,
hey, I'm down for
nice.
that. You know what we could do? We could do that. $50. We could put that on the live stream. People would get a good kick out of it. We could do that all day. That'd be fun.
No, we're not doing a point spread, Paul. This is not Vegas. Like
Wow.
giving it. Well, yeah, no. Maybe
I like
2
it,
points.
though.
Maybe 2.
Oh, he wants to go back to picking on Kimberly. We probably should. Kimberly probably deserves it.
I never left. I just had nothing to pick on them. I didn't win anything to pick about. So it's kind of welcome to the Loserville like the rest of us.
Yeah, football season's coming up here. Speaking of which, I mean, the Spash had their contact week where they had 5 straight practices, and then they get a week off, and then on a beginning of August they start. We do not play Kimberly this year, thank God. But then we play McQuamago, which is like the runner up. So we have to play. We went from Kimberly to McQuamago. Like, great move.
Why do you play all these top D1 schools?
Oh, I don't know. I said when I'm not on the coaching staff anymore, but one of our last meetings, I'm like, why don't we schedule like some team we know we can really get going on?
Right?
Gets the season
like Dunbar.
rolling.
Yeah.
Like, let's go find a team that, maybe has some kids that struggle athletically and really show them what Spash football is about.
There's one thing
that to do to the NFL.
There's one thing about playing a team that's really good if you're kind of on the uptrend, right? This is what a team is, and we try to hang with them and we build on it.
True.
But when you just get beaten off the field, that's not like, it's hard to be like, hey guys, I thought we really managed second down great. Remember that one play we got a yard? That was awesome. Run that again.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, we got to play McQuamago, and then we got to play Hudson, and it's like 3 good teams in a row. I'm like, man.
I think Greg just shot a little Pulaski there. Oh, can't pick up Pulaski. They got Poca.
Hey, I think Pulaski's actually a pretty good football team, if I remember correctly.
At D2. Who is it at D2?
Didn't they beat Bayport, though?
What? Soccer?
No, football.
No.
No?
They didn't girls soccer.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Okay.
Well, they cheated.
Oof.
I don't know how they cheated. I don't know what they did. They had to have cheated.
But they did.
1-0 they had. I mean, you just don't beat Bayport without cheating.
It's home cooking refs, right?
Yeah. Refs are from Bayport.
Oh, jeez. Your own refs don't even like you.
Right. The kid probably didn't start.
You got problems. So, hey, actually, speaking of football, I got to tell you this little nugget from youth area football, because I'm on the board, right? And so we're coming into our season. We actually have our combine next week. No, not next week. 2 weeks from now, which is going to be kind of fun. Oliver's going to play 3rd grade football. But, man, football is one of those where you run into dads that, like, have really, like, we talked about Baby Gronk. If you guys haven't seen that episode, go back and we talk about Baby Gronk. But football is unique in that regard, where you get dads that really go a little bit over the top. They think their kid's going to be like the next Junior Seau or the next Barry Sanders or whatever it is. And, man, I ran into one the other day, and he's talking about how his 3rd grader, he's talking about his 3rd grader filling the A gap and, like, popping a kid. Meanwhile, we play in a flag football league, and I'm like, if your kid's popping kids in 3rd grade when we're supposed to be just pulling flags. And he's like, did you like that? Did you hear the crowd cheer when you hit them? And they probably were not cheering. They were probably gasping, because they were probably like, why is this kid leveling a kid in 3rd grade? But he's like, he's like weirdly obsessed with, the physicality. And then he's talking about how his kid, he doesn't want anyone to coach him because he wants to be the guy that coaches him. And I couldn't quite tell if he was serious or if he was joking, but it kind of seemed serious. And he was just like way too intense. I don't know. Like, sometimes football dads are a little bit odd. They get way too riled up about football. And listen, I love football. It's my favorite sport. But, man, some of these dads got to chill out a little bit. I talk about nervous soccer moms, but football dads are over the top.
Well, isn't football like the worst sport for parent coaches too? Because the guys, we all watch the Packers or the NFL or college, and we're like, they should have totally ran the ball on that play. You have no idea, like, what goes into the makeup or the matrix of calling plays especially at the NFL level. And so these dads are just thinking they're like, dude, I'm gonna run the veer, the old West Virginia veer, and
It's like Novocaine. If you just take it long enough, it'll work or whatever.
right,
That was the line from the Titans. Remember the Titans?
right, right. If everybody does their job, we can run the veer. Well, nobody does their job. Like
Right.
it's, and the one thing I still would like to have, if you knew the old Kimberly coach.
Jonesy.
Yes. What made him a fan? Like, what made him the coach that did all of that, right? And I'm going to reach out hopefully next week if we can get John Murphy on. He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame coaching. Like, what made him every year they win or every year they're competitive? Is it the system? What is it
Right.
about these amazing coaches that is it? Because kids don't come to play for you right away, right? I mean,
Right.
if I take over the Bayport football coach, we're not going to get every best kid. Oh my God, I got to go play for him. It doesn't happen. You have to build a reputation of winning.
Right. No, and that's tough to do, especially. And then when you throw in, I don't know, you said you've coached youth football before too. When you
Yeah.
get 15 third graders together, man, you're herding cats at that point. Like you got a couple kids that know what they're doing, maybe like kind of know what they're doing, basics, how to catch and how to maybe run. But a lot of kids, they don't really know what they're doing, and so you're installing the basic fundamentals of athletics and movement, and then you try to have them all do a play together. It's like, holy cow, if you can run a couple plays by the end of the season, you're doing pretty well, in my opinion. Now sometimes you get a team where you get a bunch of kids that pick it up pretty quick, but it's kind of tough. I mean, honestly, you're always trying to find little ways to shortcuts to be able to help them understand a little bit better. Maybe you print out the plays and they can look at it, or just things that make it a little bit more straightforward. But yeah, it's tough to do. And when you get to the high school level, like installing a winning culture, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while.
Yeah, our best years is when we had 3 or 4 kids that were phenomenal, and they did everything. We just gave them the ball, we'd throw it to them, we'd be on defense, they'd tackle. I mean, it's funny how 2 or 3 good kids on a football field up until a certain age can win you everything, and then you feel like, oh, dude. I mean, there's one year we're not like 8-1. I mean, we had a really good team, and I'm like, I think I'm a pretty good coach, right? And then those kids leave, and you're like, maybe the old offense isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and you're exactly correct there, and that's where I think in the youth level, what we're trying to figure out is there a way to keep some of these kids together with the same coach, because for like a couple years, just because then at least you get some familiarity, and then like we talk about in soccer, you want to kind of flip coaches and get them on with somebody else so they get a different style, but. Yeah, I'm with you. It's tough to do. I mean, Steve Jones actually has if you've read his book, which I have, he actually talks about the bamboo story. And if you don't know the bamboo story, it's basically that, this idea that when you plant bamboo, you have to water it for like 3 years before you see any results. And then after you see the results, within that first year, it grows like 30 or 40 feet. And the premise of the story is it's like, if you really want to grow a winning program, you have to do all the things that don't give you results. And you have to believe that the process is working, right? And so, I think there's a lot of truth to that, especially when it comes to a good sports program. I mean, you think about, just look at Wisconsin United, right? When they first came together, it probably didn't happen right away, but you had to trust that the process was going to work. And then eventually, things took off, and now you got one team in nationals, and you had another team that went down to regionals, and you got, you're starting to see success because the framework, the groundwork was there for the program. And I think that's true for a lot of teams.
Well, I'm sure if you talk to Jones or I know Murphy, they run the youth program. Like they are installing the idea in the youth program all the way through. And I think a lot of coaches just coach varsity sports. They don't take the time to go down into the youth and set the table early, like you said. You gotta start somewhere, and you gotta start them young. And
yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, I think that's where you're really successful coaches. That's why when we pulled into Kimberly when we were playing football, I was amazed at the amount of youth teams that were there was a game that Friday night. We had to play Kimberly, and there was probably 20 games, youth games happening right in the vicinity of the stadium. And that then as soon as they're done with their games and practices, what do? They come over to the stadium, they watch the high school team, and it breeds the culture of like you're going from here to here to here. And then, kids are like, man, I want to play on Friday nights. Well, that's what this youth is. And it all ties together. And you get some of the players that are actually helping with the youth program. That breeds success, right? I mean, you make connections that, that really help grow your program. And it's not just football that does that. I mean, there's a lot of good examples of schools that have ties into their young players, and that helps a lot.
Yeah. I mean, who won't want to spend 50 hours a week for $2,500 a year?
Totally worth it. It's good ROI. Yeah. So anyways, I was just reminded of like sometimes dads can be a little bit, especially with football, and Paul is exactly correct. Crazy parents, wrestling, dude. I've only been to a couple wrestling matches, but I mean, you dang near have fights between some of the parents. And then you saw that one thing that happened this, couple months ago where that kid lost and he like punched the other dude or the other kid after he lost. I mean, there's some crazy stuff that happens. We actually had a guy, can't say names obviously, but he got banned from a full year. He couldn't even come in to the tournaments at Spash because he was so nuts. And it's like, Paul's not wrong. There's some crazy wrestling parents, man. They get really, and it's such a masculine, like macho sport too, like mano y mano. And so you get some real bravados there. You get some crazy stuff. Yeah. He said he coached for years and there's always fights.
I've never been to a wrestling match at the high school level or any real. I should probably go. It's the leotard or singlet or whatever they call it really kind of throws me for a loop. I just don't think I'll ever look good to it. Singlet. Right. Sorry. I don't think I'd ever look good in it. So not for me.
I was never much of a wrestler either.
Yeah. Well, Paul was an excellent wrestler. His brothers were national level wrestlers, and he was. And Pulaski, you got Pulaski, Luxembourg, Casco. Like Bayport now is on the map, but these small towns have had wrestling since the turn of time, and that's what they've been good at.
And, what's crazy about Stephen's point is kind of interesting. We've had a lot of really good individual wrestlers, like really good. We've got people in the Olympics, but we've never had a good wrestling team, which is kind of interesting. I mean, yeah, so it's just kind of odd. Like we have another kid that's going to Ohio State now, TJ Sherrill. He's going to, and all the Sherrill Ohio State, so they're good wrestlers, right? But we just never have had a really good team. We usually have a couple in-state every year, but it's just kind of, we just don't have the numbers. We've got a few individuals that are really good, but just not enough.
I just don't get what is the weight class in wrestling? Like it's like 235, and then there's one at like 237. Like how close are they?
I don't know. I know the lower ones. There's like they go all the way down to I think 140 or 120, and some of these kids are like even the high school wrestlers are pretty small. But yeah, you're right. There's like a tight window. It's like 140, and then it's like 147, or I don't know. I don't know all the weight classes, but I know it's a pretty tight window. And man, that you never seen these guys that I still don't know how it's allowed in high school sports to be able to cut weight like that. Like that's a really interesting process. It's because some of these dudes cut a lot.
Well, that's just it. Paul said 106 is the lowest. So if I'm 180 pounds, which I might be, if I want to weigh, like, do I not want to wrestle at 180 where I'd rather wrestle at 175? I'd be better off going, I'm going to wrestle at 185 so I can enjoy some cheeseburgers and not work out. But is the goal to so I sweat out 5 pounds, I throw up, I do everything I can to get to 175, and then I weigh in, and then from that moment on, I'm okay. Like I can go eat and when do you wrestle? Like right then, or is it the next day? I don't get the I just don't get it. Like I'd like to learn because it's fascinating.
Sounds like we need to have Paul on because I think Paul probably knows way more than I do. Yeah, he says if you were walking around at 180, you'd wrestle at 152, which honestly, that sounds about right because the amount of weight that these guys lose, and I was, close with a few of the wrestlers this past season. They do, man. They played football at 20 to 30 pounds heavier than what they wrestled at.
Hey,
And
play
it's just,
football
yeah.
That's 35 pounds. Paul said play football 165, wrestled at 130.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But then
I don't know, man. They're a different
Yeah.
breed, and when those guys cut weight, they are usually not very happy individuals. I mean, they're not eating. They're very, very angry. They're
But here's
very
my
on
thing.
edge.
If you're 165 pounds and you cut down to 130, and everybody else is 165 and cuts down to 130, why not just wrestle at 165? Everybody's the same people.
That is an excellent point. Paul,
Right?
would you answer that? Because I have no idea.
Yeah. It's just that's an interesting sport. And like you said, like today they care about if you're using the wrong lead in your pencil, you're gonna kill the dolphins. And here we have a kid that's sweating out 30 pounds
Right.
in a sauna with
I
a
don't know. Healthy.
That's why I don't lose weight. I don't think it's healthy.
Well, okay. Losing weight can be healthy. But when you see kids, like we had a guy that was on our defensive line, he would play at probably about 225 and he wrestled at like 190. And I'm like, you'd see him in season and he was a muscular guy, like muscular. It wasn't like a big heavyweight guy. But then you'd see him in wrestling, you're like, holy fuck, it's like it's a different guy.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
All right, we're gonna have to bite the bullet and have Paul on maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe we will.
We got a lot of questions.
I do know this. It is very possible to lose a lot of weight in a very short period of time.
Well, it's water weight, right?
Yeah. Okay, he says his parents had to sign off so that he could wrestle since he was under 3% body fat. It was not as bad anymore. It wasn't healthy. There you go.
But yeah, because don't they just sweat and sweat and sweat and sweat and sweat, and then they jump on the scale?
Pretty much. That's how I understand it.
You see it on TV. They're like 0.2 pounds away, so they're completely nude, standing there. Like I just lost 0.2 pounds, and then they're like, "Oh, you made it. Okay, good. Now what?"
Right.
Is he really good at wrestling?
What was that?
Knows it. I said, is Kimberly good at wrestling?
Probably not. No, they probably are because usually if you have a good football team, you usually have a good wrestling team.
Good,
usually.
Right.
Usually. Now, I will say this. You remember back when Corey Stringer died?
Yeah.
For the Vikings?
Yeah. Yes.
He died of heat stroke or whatever. It was really sad. But that's when I was playing college football. And so there was a big push right when I was doing college football to weigh in every practice and then weigh out every practice. And dude, I wasn't a big guy. My playing weight was 185. I don't know what my body fat was, but I guess it was pretty low because I'm a pretty slender guy. But I would go into practices at 185. I was always 185. I would weigh in 185. And then all of a sudden, at the end of practice, I was usually 171, 170, 169, 168. Like, that's not for one practice. You go out in the heat of August, you could lose 15, 16 pounds in a practice. Then we would go into the cafeteria. We'd have our team lunch. And you would just eat like a horse and you drink a bunch of stuff. You go weigh in at afternoon practice, 185. It was unbelievable. Like you would lose 15, 16 pounds and then you would go and eat and you'd gain 15, 16 pounds. And then you would go out of that practice and you would lose 15, 16 pounds. It was crazy. It was really eye-opening. And I just remember like the only reason it happened was because Corey Stringer died. So they were weighing everybody in, but it's fairly, I mean, if you're willing to sweat and that's why you get guys jumping into these neoprene suits, like making themselves go into saunas and stuff because you can literally, like you said, it's water weight. You can sweat out,
Right.
10, 15 pounds.
Hmm.
Which is kind of crazy.
When I played college rugby club, so we didn't have to sign any waivers, we would practice, we wouldn't weigh in, and then we'd go right from practice to the bar and rehydrate. And that was our routine. It was kind of dangerous it wasn't the weight loss program, but it was more just building team spirit. So yeah, I can relate to these wrestlers, struggling. Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't alcohol dehydrate you though?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
You drink water though while I'm sure.
Yeah, Coors Light's half water. We all know that.
There you go.
Paul said that Kaukauna steals the Kimberly kids for wrestling, and they're like this. He said the state champion. Kaukauna kids are from Kimberly. How did they let that happen?
See, I've heard that though. I've heard that the wrestlers go to Kaukauna, the football players go to Kimberly. Certain schools kind of have their thing. Now it seems like lately Kimberly kind of gets everything, but yeah, I have heard that wrestlers go there.
You think they shut that down? Oh, excuse me. I got to tell you this. So my wife Jackie left 4 a.m. on Saturday morning. She won't be back till next Saturday night.
What?
Yeah, she's down in Texas training for the education system.
Sounds like a good deal. I'm sure it's not hot down in Texas.
No, 108. She does dry heat. It's quite nice. But here, so last week I'm like, all right, wife's leaving on Friday. I'm probably going to golf Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't golfed yet.
Right.
Went out for one beer with Mr. Chaplin last night, and that's all I've done. I did drive Macy to volleyball tonight in Appleton, brought her back.
Jeez. What a slacker.
Summer of Toby sucks.
I'm sorry, I'm taking you away from your golf game tonight.
I wasn't invited to golf.
God.
I play Thursday night.
You don't even have friends? Wow.
Right. I mean, there used to be a day where I'd be out slinging beers at 3:30 after work, and now I'm like, I'm kind of tired. I'm going to go home.
Getting older. That's what happens, man.
Yeah, I know. It is what it is.
Well, maybe Paul will be nice and go out with you one night.
He's in the toilet. He's in Detroit.
Oof. Really?
Yeah.
Did he lose a bet?
He's got some business over there. He's going over like every other week. Do you know we traveled that area for soccer?
I've heard.
Yeah. One time.
I've heard it wasn't good.
But if we have to go to, we have 2 home games in Appleton. We go to Milwaukee or Detroit, and then I heard our last weekend will be down in Milwaukee. They're coming to us. That's it.
Well, that's kind of nice. So
yeah,
maybe you should. You guys were all talking. I stayed out of our last conversation. You guys were all talking about some stuff that's happening down in. What were you guys talking about? Going down to Florida. Did you find out we're going to Florida or something?
So we have to be in Florida December 8th, 10th, somewhere in there. Thursday to a Sunday.
So you do know the dates now. That's good.
Well, I don't know if it's like the second. The boys are the weekend before us for Pro National because the 10s, Coach Sean's other team. And then we go down and it's a tournament, which is new this year. So you play in a tournament, and then depending on if you do well at the tournament, do you make it into the next chapter of Pro National? That's the way I understood it. But did you follow any of the national title run at the 08s?
I saw what you guys texted, but I'm so bad with that stuff, man. I just don't understand some of it. And I saw that the Galaxy won, didn't they?
Yeah, I tried looking up. I didn't find anything, but my brother-in-law and then Macy was so Galaxy beat KC Fusion in the semifinals. So both those teams came out of our regional.
Right.
Right. So
And they both pre-qualified. That shows you the level difference right there. I mean, they didn't even
right.
need to go, and they would have, and they both were already in through. Um, yeah,
And then Madison did win a game. I guess the third game.
yeah, which didn't make any sense. They lost a game, but then because they lost to a team that had already pre-qualified, then they got to play again, and then they won or something like that, right?
Well, that was at regionals. Yes.
Well, no,
Yeah.
not at regionals. That didn't that happen at the after regionals? They like lost, and then they won a game, and then they lost, or something like that.
I
But
know they
because
got
who they
beat by.
lost,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
their
I don't know. I
bracket.
just
Yeah. I don't know how it worked.
but good for them. They won a game after regionals, so like kudos to them. They had a nice little run.
Well, Paul said Madison did not win at nationals.
No, they didn't.
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, good for them.
Well, they had
I mean,
Galaxy in their bracket. I mean, they weren't going to get out of their bracket. They had like New Jersey, who beat them like 5-0.
yeah, they had a. I mean, once you get to nationals, everybody's really good. So
Except for
I wonder how
Madison.
much that. I wonder how much that cost them.
Right.
Well, like seriously, I bet you that with the plane tickets and I don't know where it was held at, but I bet you that cost a pretty penny.
It was. I'm sure it was at the ESPN Center in Orlando where we're going. Same value that
Oh,
we're
okay,
going to pay.
good.
I would
I
like
need
to
call
find
my
out
friend.
because, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna call my college roommate and just be like, "Hey, can we stay with you?" He lives in Orlando.
How
Sounds like
big's
a
his
good deal to
house?
me. Huh? Oh,
I
it's
mean, he's
not
got
that
room,
big, but it's big enough. He's got floors. I'll sleep in his garage. I don't care.
right? What about your other buddy with the RV?
There you go. Get them down there. It's a good idea.
Paul said somebody, if he knows somebody, like $5,500 they spent for 3 people.
What?
But what are you doing, right?
$5,500? Did they rent a house?
We can do it
Wow.
for cheaper. Me and you will find a way.
Oh, dude, I know I can do it cheaper. Did they go to Disney as part of that? Like, that sounds like they went to
Probably.
Disney as part of that.
We're not
That's
going to
crazy.
Disney.
$5,500.
Hey, did you see that they're flying direct to Orlando out of by you?
Central Wisconsin.
Yeah. I
I
looked
know.
at airline and cheap, but it's like Allegiant where you have to fly like Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah, I'm telling you, for 40 they said one of them was like $49 one way. I'm like, for $49 one way, I would fly down for sure. That's crazy.
But then I did look and there's no late flights on Sunday.
Yeah. So then you'd have to come back on a Monday probably.
They only fly like Wednesdays and Sundays.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I saw that was happening. It's a lot. The nice thing about flying out of small airports, there's the TSA thing is so quick, parking's cheap, but it's way more expensive usually because you have to connect with somewhere. Usually.
Well,
I'll keep it in mind. All right, so Toby, unpopular opinion. I'll start it off because you've got yours, right?
I got a couple rattling around. I just got to go grab one.
It's funny because I mentioned a couple of these, and Sarah's like, because she knows all my controversial opinions, so she's like, well, you could do this one or you could do that one. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. And then I always forget what they are. But one that I do have that is very unpopular. I'll tell you, I hate coffee. I really do. I don't like coffee at all. But I will say this: I think it's very overrated. Coffee. I drink water in the morning. That's what I drink. Water. It works every time. I don't need anything to get me going. So I think coffee is like highly overrated. But I did have coffee once when we were in Puerto Rico. I had it for the first time in like 20 years, and I actually didn't mind it. It was actually okay. It didn't like change my life or anything, but I didn't gag when I drank it. So I'm almost questioning maybe my tastes have changed a little bit, but I still think coffee's very overrated. I hate the smell. So that's my unpopular opinion. I don't like coffee.
Ah,
Nobody's
actually
buying her a lot of
before,
drinks.
right, right. Before we went online tonight, I went up and made a cup of pot of coffee. I got it all ready for tomorrow with the
Really?
heavenly caramel from Starbucks I bought.
Do you like that smell in the morning?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I
See,
get a cup of.
I walk into the teacher's lounge and I'm like, ugh, I hate that smell. Anyway, sorry.
I think McDonald's coffee is the best coffee around.
I like your style.
$1.04, and you get a medium coffee, 2 cream. Warm me up on the way to
See?
work.
You're not doing the $5 Starbucks latte?
Oh God, no! The Starbucks is terrible, terrible.
Okay.
That could be my opinion. That Starbucks is dirt.
Dude, I'm with you. I have so many students that love Starbucks. Love it. I mean, they show up in their, I think it's just a status thing, but they show up where, their little whatever. I don't even know what they are. Caramel iced lattes or whatever they are. But Starbucks, it's like, I've never seen the need. A, I don't drink coffee, but then I'm look at the other stuff. I'm like, ugh, no thanks.
The thing is, nobody gets like when I go to coffee, I get a medium coffee with cream, and they're like, "Is that a venti?" And I'm like, I don't know. Have you ever seen Paul Rudd? The
Yes,
dude,
that's
one
exactly
of the
what I was
greatest
thinking.
things. Yes, when he's like venti means large in Italy. Dude, if you haven't
20
seen that out there, and you're listening. Paul Rudd, Starbucks rant. It is phenomenal.
And he's like, congratulations, you're stupid in 3 languages. Dude, it's one of my favorites because I hate coffee so much. I'm like, it's one of my favorite lines from Paul Rudd. Very
But
good.
if we stop there with my kids and my wife, it's $20 at Starbucks, and nobody orders a coffee. It's all like a dragon fruit, blah blah blah, with twist of lemon with a ice cube that's made out of artesian spring water, and I'm like, what the? And then like,
It's
what?
very
No tip?
fancy.
And I'm like, here's your $2. For the love of Lord.
You seem like you'd be a nice tipper just because you feel bad.
I do. I do. I do.
Yeah.
I mean,
See, I don't know.
when it's
That's one of those
deserved.
things. Well, yeah, and I love doing it when it's deserved, but that's why I didn't even put out a tip jar when we started our business because I'm like, we're doing or counter service. Like, you don't tip that. And so but then people are like, where's your tip jar? I'm like, I just assumed we didn't do tips because we're just handing you an ice cream cone. I don't know. I like, yeah, but you seem like you'd be a good tipper. I'm kind of cheap, but
I mean, like if I came to your ice cream and you gave me $1 back, or any change is going in your tip jar.
oh,
So you
for
gotta
sure,
make
I'm
it,
that way too. Yeah.
yeah, 405. Everything should be 05. Oh, 95 cents.
Boom.
Ran the old tipperoonie.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say my unpopular opinion
Okay.
is that the greatest sport known to man is baseball.
Ooh.
Yep.
Is that unpopular though? It's America's pastime.
I know, but people don't like baseball.
I'll give you that one though. Yeah, because it is not the most
We live
popular
in a
sport right
football.
now.
We live in a football part of society that, and it's just. I think the gamesmanship. I think the coaching is fantastic. I
So
do. I think what that.
I was just gonna say, what do you like the most? Is it the unwritten rules?
I think it's the unwritten rules of baseball. The when you start to coach it and you start to really get and dive into it. There's a whole game inside a game that I love. I love coaching baseball. I love coaching kids in baseball. I think it's fun to watch them, to see that light bulb go off, whether it's hitting or fielding. So, yeah.
Okay, I like
Mhm.
it. Now, have you been following this guy that's like the greatest pitcher in the league, and he's the best home run hitter in the league at the same time? It's like unbelievable.
Oshani from the
I
Angels.
know
Yeah.
he's I knew he was the Angels, but like I saw one of his stats the other day, and he's crazy. He's like leading the league or almost leading the league in home runs. He's got like one of the best ERAs in the league. I'm like, that's crazy. To be a good pitcher and a good hitter.
They say like his street value is worth like $600 million because he's the best. Like it's one of the top two hitters, and he's the best pitcher. So if you're
It's
paying a
crazy.
guy $30 million to do both, yeah,
Like, yeah, it's unreal. Like, I don't know how you can. It just seems like in today's day and age, it'd be so hard to be good at both. And he's like amazing at it. And doesn't he steal a bunch of bases too? He's like really
Yeah.
fast, and he
that's
just
really
does
good
everything.
athlete. Yep.
What do they used to say? It's that you're a 5-tool player or something. And this guy's like a.
What is a
8-tool
five?
player.
What are the 5 tools? It's running, hitting, there's speed, glove.
I don't even
I
know.
didn't have to worry about being a 5-tool player. I didn't have 5 tools, but I'm sure I was like a couple tools.
Was comedy one of the tools?
Right.
Like wittiness from the bench.
I came up with all the cheers.
Baseball. He goes, when I watch baseball and I'd go take pictures for yearbook and stuff at Spash, I always like all the little things that they come up with, they have all their little lingo and stuff that they say to the players in the field, and they have their little jokes. I enjoy that. I think that's pretty fun.
If you want to hear lingo, watch girls softball. Oh man, they cheer
Really?
the whole time. The whole time.
Huh.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Okay.
I
believe you.
I would say I was gonna stay with Starbucks sucks, but I think that's everybody's opinion, unless you're
Hey.
a 15-year-old girl.
That is true. All right, that's awesome. Anything else you want to add tonight? That's a good one though. I like it.
Yeah.
We got to
We'll
get
stay
to
in
that.
touch about
All right.
stay in touch about next week. If you're gone, you're gone. We'll shoot for the following. We're back at it in
Sounds
soccer.
good. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we're down in the Smokies next week, so I don't think it's going to happen. But I will definitely
missing
let you know.
soccer practice.
Do we have soccer?
Yeah, starts
Oh
Tuesday.
my God, Amelia's going to freak out. Oh man, I won't tell her. All right, yeah, I will let you know. Hopefully, we don't drown in the river. We're going to go whitewater rafting. So
yeah, don't do that.
yeah. All right, man. We'll be
You
in
have a good
touch.
evening.
You too, Toby. Thanks.
All right, bye.